What are y'all? This DJ Illmatic back once again, coming at you live and direct, straight from my crib, USA, daily operation, episode 15, here to chop it up with you once again about all the goings on in the gaming world today. Electric relaxation this week, still playing through Borderlands, the pre-sequel, starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of the main story missions. I think I'm nearing the end. Now that means I still have a whole lot more side missions and DLC to go. Not sure if I'll get through all of that before The Witcher 3 comes out, but I am nearing the end in terms of the single-player story. Not really going to talk much about it this week because I've talked about it the last couple of weeks, but I did want to mention I've heaped nothing but praise on the game so far, and I still love the game. But I do have one criticism I have to mention, and that is anytime you load a new save or you fast travel to a new area or you die and respawn, when the game first loads you back in, it takes a few seconds for the textures to pop in. And I've noticed it since the beginning, but it's something the more I've played, the more it bothers me more and more as I see it. And so there's really no excuse for that, being this is originally a 360 PS3 game that was brought over to the PS4 Xbox One, so they should have been able to take care of that before launch. Like I said, it's not a huge problem. I still love the game. It's still a great game, but it is a problem that I wish they would at least patch out. I wish it wouldn't have been there in the first place. I also spent a lot of time this week on my Xbox One playing through State of Decay, the Year 1 Survival Edition. Now, this is an open-world zombie game that was originally released on the 360 towards the end of the 360's life cycle, and so they've re-released it on the Xbox One, and graphically speaking, it doesn't look very good. In fact, and I'm not sure how much better it looks than its 360 counterpart. I mean, honestly, even the Xbox One version, compared to 360 games, it's not a very good-looking 360 game, much less a Xbox One game. There's also a huge problem with clipping. This is probably one of, if not the worst game in terms of clipping I have ever seen. Usually, every game I've dealt with, I've seen clipping before. You can always tell where the character's supposed to be, and they just clip through a wall or a fence just a little bit. And so you can tell that the person is supposed to be inside the house, and you might see an arm or a hand clip through the wall every now and then. But you can clearly tell that this character was meant to be on the inside of the house or on the inside of the fence. State of Decay, the clipping is so bad you literally can't tell where the zombie is supposed to be. They are literally clipping dead in the middle. And so you can't tell if the zombie is supposed to be inside the house or outside the house. They are just in the middle of the wall, which is horrendous. Not sure why they let this, and apparently it was a problem on the Xbox 360 as well. I'm not sure why they didn't fix this problem, but it does detract from the overall experience. Despite those complaints, I'm really enjoying the game. It is a really different take on the zombie genre. Now, of course, there are tons of zombies for you to kill, and there are tons of ways to kill them. There's plenty of guns you can shoot them with, plenty of melee weapons you can beat them with. If you want to hop in a vehicle, there's plenty of different vehicles for you to hop in and drive over them with. But there's much more to this game than just killing zombies. You have to manage your resources. You have a settlement of survivors, and you'll switch back and forth between the survivors, because when you go out with one character, eventually they'll grow tired and they'll need to come back and rest, so you can switch to another character. The more people you have in your settlement gives you the more options to switch back and forth. And so you have to manage the resources to build up your settlement, build up your safe house. And so you have to go out, look for medicine, look for food. And if you don't find food, people are going to go hungry. They may get sick. And if you don't have the medicine to heal them, they could possibly die. And while they're ill or hurt, you're not going to be able to use those characters. And then the morale of your community suffers, which causes problems as well. And so this is a very interesting dynamic that I'm really enjoying using. Also, it has permadeath in State of Decay, so if one of your characters dies, that is it for them. You lose their resources, all the skills you've built up with that character, they're gone. And I'm not really sure how I feel about this. Now, I do admit permadeath does add to the immersion, because it adds to the sense of fear or of going out and battling these zombies, and you got to ask yourself, is it worth the risk to go up in this house? I might get surrounded. I almost lost one of my characters the other day. I was basically the next zombie that would have sneezed on me. I would have died, and the pack of zombies was chasing me as I was dragging myself to the nearest vehicle. And at the very last second before the zombie was able to grab me. I was able to get in the car and save that character. So I'm not really sure. I can see myself getting very upset if a highly leveled character ends up dying and I don't have use of them anymore. But it is an interesting element to the game that I am enjoying, and so I'm going to continue to play through it. And like I said, I'm having a lot of fun with it so far, and you will too if you can get past the minor issues with the graphics and the clipping that I talked about. All right, y'all, buck 'em down. This is a segment of the show we buck down the foolishness and the ignorance in the gaming world today. And I want to just take a few minutes to talk about downloadable content. Downloadable content has been a hot button topic for a while now, but I've seen a lot more of message boards and forums, people talking about DLC and their dissatisfaction or displeasure with DLC. And two of the minor gripes or minor complaints I hear about DLC is a lot of gamers feel like developers, publishers are withholding content so they can sell it later as DLC. That this is stuff we would have gotten already on the disc a generation or two ago, but nowadays, instead of giving us 16 maps or 12 maps, they're only going to give us 8 or 10, and they're going to withhold the rest so they can sell it as downloadable content. And I have to admit, I felt like that at time or two myself. I remember Tiger Woods PGA Golf, and I haven't played in a few. It hasn't been out in a couple years, and I didn't play it, I think, the last year or two. But I remember Tiger Woods coming out with like 12 or 16 courses, and then they had, if not the day it launched, but very briefly after that, they had like another few courses you could buy. And so my question, I felt cheated like most. I was like, well, why didn't they just put this on the disc in the first place? So I understand that thinking, and that does bother me from time to time as well. The other issue people have with DLC is the microtransactions, the constant nickel and diming you for $1 or $2 for this skin or for this camo or for this weapon, and just the constant trying to hit you over the head with these microtransactions, constantly trying to get money out of you. And so many gamers feel like we're paying $60 for these games, but when you figure in the season pass for around $40, and then all the camo and the character skins you buy, you mess around, and at the end you end up spending $120 to $160 for the same game. And so gamers are kind of upset all this content just isn't on the disc to start with. Now, I have felt those things before myself, but I always try to look at things from both sides, not just consider how I feel as a gamer or consumer, but try to understand it from both sides. And when you look at it from both sides, you realize that it's not just publishers and developers that are at fault for DLC becoming or developing the way it has. We as gamers are to blame for this as well. And when you look at it from a price standpoint, games have been $60 now for going on about a decade. If the price of games went to $60 at the launch of the 360, it maintained that price all the way through that console generation, and now in this new console generation, we've held firm at $60. And so if you think about it for a minute, you'd be hard pressed to name another consumer product that in the last 10 years its price hasn't risen because of inflation. The price of video games has stayed the same for almost a decade now. Meanwhile, the cost for developing a game, the cost for marketing a game, the cost for manufacturing a game, all those costs have increased while the price of a game has maintained at the same level. And so that means these publishers, these developers, they're making less money than they used to on these same games. Now, I understand that, not crying broke for any of them. All of these the publishers are making more money than me or you will see in 3 or 4 lifetimes, and so not to cry broke for them, but we have to understand that first and foremost, this is a hobby or a passion for us as gamers, but at the end of the day, for publishers, developers, this is a business. They're in it to make money, and they're making less money now because they can't charge more for games. And the reason they can't charge more for games is because gamers lose their minds when they see change, and the Xbox One was a perfect example of that. And I'm sure there are plenty of publishers who have thought about maybe upping the price $5 or $10. But after the fiasco that was the Xbox One launch, I'm sure they changed their mind really quickly because gamers do not like change. People lost their mind when Xbox One announced that they were going to have DRM and always online. They caused such a ruckus that Xbox One did away with it. And whereas going into the launch of these new consoles, before these announcements, everyone pretty much had already handed the next-gen sales title to the Xbox One before launch. And ever since they've made that announcement, they've been playing catch-up. And so gamers do not like change. And so I think many publishers, developers, they're afraid to raise the price on a game. And also, and that kind of goes along with the Xbox One, the used game market is an issue for developers and publishers as well, because they don't see any money on those used games. And so once again, that's eating into their profits. They're not happy about that. And so we have basically, as gamers, because we said when the Xbox One was trying to do away with used games that no, this is not something we are going to accept. And so we won't accept paying more money for a game. We won't accept doing away with the used game market. And so we basically backed developers and publishers into a corner where DLC is really their only means of continuing to increase their profit or make profit beyond what they're used to making. And so this is why DLC has developed the way it is, because they can't raise the price on a game. They can't do away with used games, so that they're relying on DLC to supplement the cost of making and marketing and manufacturing these games. And so that's why DLC is what it is today. And so we as gamers, and hopefully the digital market will maybe change some of this, because with digital, developers are going to, first of all, make more money off the game because they don't have to pay those manufacturing costs. And so this also takes care of the used game market. And so we might see a change going forward as digital games become more popular. But as of right now, I honestly can't blame so many developers publishers for relying on DLC in terms of adding to their income for these games. And I think that's one of the reasons these mid-tier game publishers have basically disappeared. Basically now all we have is AAA publishers and small indie publishers, because those middle tier disappeared. And I think the reason they disappeared is because those AAA publishers, Call of Duty every year when they put out those map packs, Battlefield, these map packs, fighting games like Mortal Kombat, they put out these different characters. These AAA publishers, they're going to be able to sell their DLC, whereas I think these mid-level developers, they weren't able to either put out enough DLC, develop enough DLC, or people just weren't as interested in it, and so this hurt their bottom line, and they just weren't able. It wasn't a viable business for them anymore. And so as gamers, if we want to continue to enjoy these amazing experiences and have these AAA big budget titles, we're going to have to give some concessions. And so we're going to have to ask, are we willing to pay more for games? Are we willing to do away with the used game market? Are we going to have to accept DLC the way it is? Now, the only gripes I have about DLC, or the couple of things I would like to see publishers change about DLC, is I do not like day one DLC. That drives me crazy. After I've spent $60 on your game, I don't like coming home and seeing this developer basically stick their hand out and ask me for more money. I don't care if they wait a day or two. Just wait a day or two. If the game launches on Tuesday, wait till Friday before you ask me for some more money. Just don't do it the day of. And the other big problem I have with DLC is when they incorporate it. And so the example I give is Forza 5, the Forza that launched with the Xbox One. I can't remember which number that is. But you would select a new race to race in, and so you think you're about to race on this new circuit or this new track, and then it would tell you, oh, well, we need you to pay for it. If you want to race here, you have to pay for it. I don't like that either. Put the DLC on a marketplace or something like that, but don't incorporate it into the game and make me think, hey, I'm about to play a new level or a new map, and then I'll have to suddenly find out at the last minute I have to pay for it. I don't like that. But other than that, I understand developers' needs for DLC in order to continue to make a profit for these big budget titles. Alright, y'all, that's all the time we got for this week's episode of Daily Operation. Once again, it's been DJ Illmatic, Daily Operation. Check us out at 8bitchimp.com for all that gaming flavor you savor. 8bitchimp.com. Hit me up on my YouTube, DJ_Illmatic, or my Twitch, same thing, DJ_Illmatic, or hit me up on Twitter, DJ Illmatic23, no space, no underscore, all together. Hit me up on one or all three of them joints, and I will get back at you. Check me out on iTunes if you just want the audio of the podcast. Search for 8-Bit Chimp, and you'll find Daily Operation on iTunes under 8-Bit Chimp. Fat shout to my Organized Gamers family. Big shout to Bam, Show, Zig, Tab, Certified, Sleepy, the whole crew. Once again, this has been DJ Illmatic, Daily Operation. We out of here, y'all. One.